Are you trying to dominate your fantasy football league? Do you want so many championship rings it's impossible to sign autographs? Well, crack open a beer, pour yourself a glass of bourbon, and settle in, because you've come to the right place. Welcome to Hammercast.
Welcome to the Hammercast Network. I am your host, Kevin Coleman. You can find me at DuBois_22 on Twitter. And today we are going over our 2021 Dynasty Superflex rookie mock. And we're going over round 2. If you missed round 1, it is on the YouTube page. You guys were great. I appreciate the support there. So we are going off of that. So the picks will come off of that. And then we're going into our round 2. And, you know, these are guys, everybody in this round has something that's holding them back. And it's going to be an interesting kind of dynamic. I really feel like there's a cliff at the 208, 207 mark, and we'll talk about that. But these are guys that I think can be solid pros. So let's jump right into it while we're at it. I'm excited about this, and we'll go. So our first guy for me, the first pick of the second round is going to be Rashod Bateman. Now, I've seen analysts have him as high as number 1. I've seen him number 2. He's not quite there for me yet. We're going to talk about why, but I still think he's in that value range around the 110 to 202 mark. He's going to be in that category. As far as his college stats, you know, he had a pretty productive career there at Minnesota. He had 147 receptions, 2,300 yards, just almost 2,400, and 19 touchdowns. And, you know, Rashod is someone that I think has very good ball skills. So when you watch him, he's going to be a very solid wide receiver in the league. Now, what is his ceiling? I don't know. Maybe wide receiver 2-ish status. But you can see right here, he has very good, you know, eye discipline. He catches balls when he needs to. He has some of the best hands I love to see. And from him, and he made Tanner Morgan look good. And that's saying something. He does have the ability to kind of break away. He had a very fast 40 time. I think he's around the 4.445 mark. Okay, originally everybody ran fast at pro day. Even I could have ran fast at my pro day if I had one. But I think that he did a very good job of using his body. He's got that big frame. He's got the size that you would like to see. He can take that extra step, and he can kind of get away from the defense. He's a pretty good route runner when you watch him run. I would say that it's limiting. Okay, I think that he does more with his physicality, as you can see here when you get the ball in space. It is against Auburn, a very top 10 team at this time. And you'll see that he just has the ability to kind of break away from the defenses. Now, I think that one thing about Bateman and why people kind of have tended to question him a little bit. You saw what Tyler Johnson did. He came in the league, came into a bad spot. Okay. And so I don't know if we can use that against him. They do a very good job of running multiple schemes, offenses against the defenses out there, and their offensive schemes for wide receivers in the slot. It really makes that safety choose. And you'll watch Minnesota, what they do. It's basically an RPO for the safety. How does the defense attack that slot guy? If they don't, they dump it to him. So Bateman did get a lot of production from that. I'm not going to hate on that because, hey, he did it. He contributed that production. Now, can he break away? Can he create separation at the next level? Can he do a good against press coverage? Those are all things that I think are question marks right now. But if you're getting him in the second round, that's a steal. To me, that's a very good value because he could be a very good wide receiver in the league. Now, landing spot's going to be a determining factor for me. Does he go to the Ravens? If he goes there, which I've seen him mock there, that would hurt a little bit. Does he go to Tennessee? Does he go to some of these places that we've seen? I think that landing spot will be big for him, but I think he's going to be a very solid pro. I don't have hopes for him to be like a wide receiver 1 dominant guy going to come in the league, but he can be a very solid pick. And with you getting, let's say you did have the first pick, you pick Lawrence and Bateman. I think those are 2 very solid foundational pieces that can help your roster, help your dynasty roster. Now, my second guy is a guy that's been in the news recently, and that's Devonta Smith. And I think he's going to be the most controversial pick out there for guys. I've seen him go as high as 7 in the first round to I saw him go recently as the 5th pick in the second round. Now, in college, there's no denying what he did in college. 235 receptions, almost 4,000 yards receiving, 46 touchdowns. He was a monster, Heisman Trophy winner. You cannot take any of that away from him. The one big question mark for me, and for a lot of guys, is his weight. You know, he weighed in at 166 pounds recently. That is insane when you look at kind of the analytics numbers. And again, I'm a film guy. I tend to be more of a film guy, but I do trust analytics people when they look at the BMI and how that affects them. And people have said, hey, Tavon Austin is really his only comp in terms of like the weight. That does not get me excited. Now, could he be an outlier? Can he be that unicorn that we all talk about? Yeah, he could be. I think the value for me is where it's going to hurt him. So when you see him here, he has the ability to get space. He has the ability to catch yards after catch. again, he's a good receiver, and he did it very well in a system that Sarkisian did there. When you put him out in space, he's able to take the ball, and he's able to make guys miss. Now, his speed is the one thing that I think will be well. He has very good footwork. He has pretty good there. And then you'll see here, look at his catch. I mean, that is a hell of a catch. He gets his feet on. They called that a touchdown. So he done it against top-level competition, against Florida. Hey, in the SEC title game, he had a hell of a game. He does go over the middle a little bit, but he will get small, and I worry about maybe how is that going to translate to the NFL. Will he get hit off the press coverage? He has a tendency to get hit off his route. They didn't press him a lot in college. You hate to see it a little bit. He does do a good job there. They did back away from him a lot because of his outlying speed. Now, will that matter in the NFL? I don't know. Those are where those question marks come from. Now, he takes shots, okay, and he did get back up. He did get hurt in that national championship game, but they did a very good job of getting him out of space. Now, what do we expect from him? For me, and you can see, he can catch. For me, when I'm looking at Devonta, it's just about cost and value. If you're taking him in the first 8 picks, you're looking at a wide receiver 1, and I think that's a reach. I don't think that he's going to do that. But if you take him at 202, I absolutely love it. That's fine. To me, he's in that 112 to 203 mark. If you get him there, just like a lot of these receivers are on this mark, that's a good value. I don't want to reach for a guy like Devonta Smith. I will take a guy like Waddle. I will take a guy like Terrace Marshall. I will take a guy like Bateman just because I think they have a safer floor. Now, if you're going for that home run pick, you believe in his talent, hey, Heisman winner, I can't take those things away from him. I like him as a receiver. I don't want to get into a film versus analytics or BMI or argument. I just think that there's question marks. And I think you have to understand that those question marks are realistic. Like, hey, he is a small guy at 166 pounds. That is concerning. And now where does he go? Again, maybe he will drop based on that weight. Who knows? If he goes to the Dolphins, where does that lie? I think that he has a lot of question marks, and he's not your prototypical wide receiver 1. Now, I hear a lot of comps, Marvin Harrison, all these guys. Let's slow our roll on the comps and just let these guys play out, see how they can kind of fit in the system. But a team needs to have an identity for him. A team needs to have a plan for him. They can't just take him and say, oh, well, he won Heisman. He's a good receiver. Let's put him out there. They need to have a plan like Sarkisian did. Steve Sarkisian did an amazing job. That's why I'm really happy that he went to Texas because he was able to get these guys in the right place. His scheme was fantastic. Okay. Now, my next guy, the 203, is this monster, Rondale Moore. And again, he has the same question marks. The guy's 5'7", okay, but his thighs are the size of my body. Okay, he is a massive. His vertical, I still think he's jumping up and trying to hit the vertical. I love Rondale. The other couple of knocks about him. His college stats: 178 receptions, 1,900 yards, 14 touchdowns. Again, he was hurt. So the thing about Rondale Moore is that he got hurt his sophomore year. Only played, I think it was 3 or 4 games. Last year, COVID, he kind of was in and out. Okay, so he didn't have that. He had a great freshman year. Obviously, he came out of the scale in the Ohio State game, and you'll see it here. They actually dominated Ohio State, and everybody talks about it, but he did. When he got in space, you'll see him here. He's strong. And the thing about him is that he has that lower body strength. He can break tackles. I'm not that worried about that. He has a limited route tree. So when we talk about what he was able to do, he did a lot of stuff in the same kind of areas. He didn't have these deep balls. He had these short little quick passes where he can break it. So you see him, what he can do when he does get out in space and he does get yards after the catch. They used him a lot. I think he would be a very good athlete, fly guy, kind of getting it in a way, kind of like what they do with Tyreek Hill. Not comparing him. There's no such thing as another Tyreek Hill, but what they kind of do, kind of scheme around him. I think that he can do that. I love his breakaway ability, and I love his ability to be an athlete. But what is he at the next level? I think that's always kind of the question marks for me is like, what can he do? I know he can score, and I know he can, hit these long breakaway home run plays. Now, as a receiver, I think he's very limited at basically his routes. But, can he do that at the next level? Sure. He could be like a Percy Harvin type guy in the next level and do these things. Now, this is probably one of my favorite catches from him. He does a pretty good job of his eye discipline, his catching ability, his radius, kind of being to make adjustments on the ball. But there's not too many of throws like that. You'll see a lot of basically throws over the middle taken to the house. There's not a lot of throws of like seeing him in contested catches situations. Now, is that because he's so fast and he can break away? Maybe. Or they just didn't utilize him in those fashions. Now, is that his fault? Maybe not. But we have to question these things. When we look into the second round, we're talking about guys that we have question marks about, right? All these guys are going to have question marks. So I think the lack of route tree, can he create separation? He is fast. Can he kind of get off the line quicker? Can he use that speed? At 203, I like the value. He's going to go around that 203 to 205 mark. I totally believe it. Unless you have a Purdue fan and you love him, Or you got like my guy Fantasy Dukes, who's on Twitter. He loves Purdue. He's going to take him early. But I don't mind him in that range, okay? Especially Superflex. They're going to push these guys down. But I really feel like you're going to be looking at Bateman, Marshall, Smith, and Moore all in these kind of categories. Marshall went 12 in the one that I did recently, if you hadn't seen that yet. Now, my next guy is our next running back off the board, and that would be our fourth running back off the board, and that's my guy Kenneth Gainwell. Now, I am well known. People know that I love Kenneth Gainwell. He, in college, he basically played 1 year. He kept Antonio Gibson, who is the darling of everybody's fantasy teams right now, off the field basically as a runner. He had 235 attempts, 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns. He also had 57 receptions, 662 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's my running back 4, and I really feel like it's a tier of himself, okay, to be quite honest with you. And when you watch him on tape, this is one of my favorite run against Navy. You see the breakaway speed. He's got it, okay? The biggest thing about him is his size. He did measure at 200 pounds. He's going to stay there and play there. He'll probably play at 195, which worries some guys. I do like my running backs to be about 210, 215, obviously. But he's got that breakaway speed. And, again, he played at Memphis. He had a hell of 1 year. He opted out. So, yes, he did opt out. And I've heard some teams get worried about that. So that could maybe drop him down for his draft capital. Hopefully it doesn't. But I could see him a second-round, third-round guy. This is where it separates him to me. I think that he is the best receiving back in this class. He has the ability to turn. Look at that catch. I mean, that's just the receiver. That's just an athlete. I love watching Kenneth Gainwell play. I hope you can hear that excitement. Look at his ability to come, make the catch, and go. They opted him out. He was basically just a universal player. He's running back, wide receiver. They could opt him out in the slot. They could opt him out there. You'll see that. He has vision. I know some people question his vision, people that I truly respect. And I've been trying to look at it and going back and forth and trying to find why do they question that vision. I think sometimes he can hit holes a little slower. Not because he is slow, because I think he does have the acceleration to do it. I think sometimes he overthinks where he's supposed to be, but he was young. He is going to take some development because he only did really play in 1 year. So there is that question mark. Can he produce to the next level? To me, I think he can. I think he can be a third down running back and 3-down running back in this league. I know it's a stretch to say because of his size. But, he does have that ability. He's got to work on his pass blocking a little bit. But, again, this running back class is so iffy to me that I think is a good value for him in that 204, 205, 206 range. If you can get him in that range, sure. I know they're running back needy teams. You might have to stretch and maybe get him at the beginning of the second. I don't hate that either. I think that he's clearly running back 4. I think in PPR formats, he's a very good back to own. He's got that receiving ability. Can they use him on the outside? Now, as far as landing spots goes, I don't know what the perfect landing spot for Gainwell is. I thought it was Arizona, and then they got, James Conner's carcass out there, so I don't know what that's going to do. Miami would be an interesting place for me if they don't move on from Gaskin. Maybe Gaskin and him can split some time. I would like that pick. Does he go to like the Jets in that scheme, LaFleur there? I think that would look good. So there's a lot of question marks there, right? Okay, but I still think he is a running back 4. He's that guy. Now, my next guy is Elijah Moore, and he's been a lot of fun to watch. A lot of guys have been kind of in and out on him, but I think he had a 205. That's pretty much where his spot should kind of go. In college, we saw him last year, especially with Lane Kiffin. He did well. Had 189 receptions, 2,400 yards, and 16 touchdowns in his career. The big thing about Elijah is he's going to be able to play everywhere on that field. And I love him in the slot. I love him on the outside. He kind of, when you're looking at this, it's kind of like Rondale Moore, right? I mean, he's not as fast, I don't think, but he has that same ability. But I think he's more polished as a receiver, if I had to say so. I think that his ability to get in and out of his breaks, he keeps his hips low. When you watch him use his hips, I think it's a very fun thing to watch him run routes because he's able to kind of manipulate the defenders. He does that very well. I absolutely love it. And then you'll see him here. They're going to get him the ball. So Ole Miss, they didn't have as many weapons as they needed. So they needed to get him the ball in various ways. He was able to do that. You'll see him take the ball a lot of different ways. He's fast, man. He's one of the fastest receivers in this league. But, fast doesn't always translate to success, especially at the NFL level. But I think his route running ability, from what I've seen and from what I like what he does with his hips, it's pretty well. He's aggressive. He's got that kind of, hey, I'm going to go up and get the ball at the highest point, which is great. And again, he caught it in space, and he does do pretty well in the red zone. He's able to create that save. He has good hands, too. Like, the thing about him that I probably like the most is his hands. He's able to create that separation, but he's also able to catch the ball 50-50 balls. And you'll notice here, again, not a lot of corners are going to be able to match up with him. His ability to kind of get in and out of breaks, I think the separation is key for him. So my 205 is Elijah Moore. But again, these wide receivers, as you can tell, they're all kind of the same. Yeah, I mean, it's really going to come down to personal preference. Who do you think is going to fit? Landing spot determining. Where is that going to go? And draft capital. If Elijah goes a little higher, I'm like, well, maybe they're going to use him a little bit different ways. Now, my next guy is Trey Sermon with the 206. And I'm falling in love with Trey Sermon. and it's hard for me to say because he's a Ohio State kid, but gosh, this kid was, he's definitely had to stay healthy, right? So that's his biggest concern. We'll go there first. In college, he had 455 attempts, almost 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns. He had 48 receptions, 486 yards, and 3 touchdowns in the air. So he does have kind of a receiving capability with himself. He really came on strong. He was recovering from his knee, and he came on strong last year at Ohio State. You saw the last 4 or 5 games where he's just a strong runner. So he's just a guy, when you watch him play, he's got pretty good acceleration. You'll see it here. His knee got healthier. He got more comfortable. The online started blocking for him a little bit. He's never going to be like a burner. So he's not someone that I expect to do that. But you watch him, he's got pretty good skills for the in between the tackles. He arm tackles, not going to take him down, breaking tackles. Again, and he has okay vision. Like, he does look for contact. So again, I think he's everything that we thought Zach Moss was going to be. Like, he's a guy that has a little bit more speed than him. He's probably a little bit stronger, can do a lot more for his team. And again, you'll see him here, has his receiving ability. He reads blocks pretty well. I think he has that ability to kind of extend the defense here. This is one of his, better runs. Okay, he keeps his feet moving, able to he wants it. So the thing I think about with running backs is, do they want that will to go? And we'll notice this. Everybody brings this up about Justin Fields. But, hey, he's able to basically break free here. He gets a great block from Fields, scores a touchdown. Sermon is the type of kid that you're going to have to take a shot on, and will he be able to do it? And you'll notice him. He's looking for contact. He's going to be in there. He's that short yardage back, and I love his grit. I love his tenacity. That's what my old varsity coach used to say, tenacity. And all you need is 4 yards, right? And that's what my coach used to say. Can he do it? Can he do it? Now you'll see here. He's going to get caught. Look at that, stiff arm, does those things. I think he's the type of guy that's going to find a role in the NFL. Now, he's a one contract guy to me. Okay, kind of like similar to Najee, but he's a guy that's going to be there 2 to 3 years. He'll be a good running back 3 option. Now, I'm not asking him to be a running back 2 or 1, but running back 3 option is definitely in the realm of possibilities for Sermon, especially in a low running back class. He would be the running back that I would want to take a shot on in this range, especially because his skills, and he's going to score touchdowns. And all fantasy points about touchdowns. Now, my 207 is a man that's getting disrespected right now, and I absolutely love him. I'm on the Amon-Ra St. Brown train. I've been on the Amon-Ra St. Brown train since last year. He's a guy that I love watching play football, and I'm rooting for this kid. I will be honest with everybody out there listening. This is the type of kid that I want to succeed in the NFL. Now, USC, 178 receptions, 2,200 yards, 16 touchdowns. Again, the numbers are a little bit skewed because, Pac-12 didn't play that many games last year, but this kid is a straight dog. I love him. I love everything about him playing football. He goes over the middle. He's strong. He catches. He's actually not that slow. He's about probably that 4.5, 4.6 range. He was the guy that Slovis counted on the last 2 years. Anytime they needed a first down, they went to Amon-Ra. Anytime they needed a big catch, they went to Amon-Ra. Anytime they needed anything, Amon-Ra was their guy. He's a deep threat too, but his ability to make a catch, you'll see it there, his 50-50 balls, he's just a strong dude. They get him out in space. You're not going to bring him down with arm tackles. He's going to attack your defender. He's going to take the hits and absorb them. He's going to be able to catch the ball and score touchdowns. That's one of his best catches here. He obviously had a great Washington State game where he scored 4 touchdowns in the first quarter. But again, he goes up, gets the ball, scores. He has that ability to be a slot guy. He's like Tyler Boyd, just a little bigger. Okay, to me, he's like that slot Tyler Boyd guy. He's going to find a role in the NFL. Everybody's like, man, Amon-Ra is pretty disrespected. His ADPs keeps going low, but how can we keep finishing with high-end wide receiver, low-end wide receiver 2 numbers? I really feel like he has that possibility. Does he go to Green Bay? Does he go to maybe some of these other places? I would absolutely love him to go to Kansas City. I don't think they will do it, but imagine him in those offenses where he can get into the zone. He's smart. The tangible thing is the key. He's a smart kid. He's someone that you can find the zone spots in the defenses, find the weak spot in the defenses, attack it. He thinks the game, and he can catch and think the game. He's going to find a role in this league. And this dude he blocks, he hits, he lives and breathes football. You can tell just by the tape. I love the tangibles. Ben Eby is someone I really love from Destination Debbie. He's a guy that looks at like these rookie freshmen coming in. And Ben and me always talked about his coaches and people that we like to see. We like that intangible box. You can never always measure intangibles. You don't really know if they're there. Amon-Ra has those intangibles. Go draft him if he's in your middle of the second round, because he is going to will himself to be successful in this league. My next guy is Dyami Brown, North Carolina. I was high on him coming in. I'm still high on him. I still think that he is a very solid receiver. In college, he played with Sam Howell. We know that. Daz Newsome's there, Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, all these guys. He had 123 receptions, 2,300 yards, and 21 touchdowns for his college career. When you're looking at his tape, let's see what he does well. So, when we're going through here, he obviously played with one of the best quarterbacks in the league, in college. So he definitely has that going for him. But he has the ability to break away. He has good hands. Everything about him, I think his release is very good off the line. When you watch him play football, he's a deep threat. He catches the ball. He's a very solid receiver. I don't necessarily understand why he's been kind of hated on a little bit. I've seen Kadarius Toney go ahead of him, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think Toney's a good athlete, but Brown's a better receiver. You'll see him here on the deep ball. He's able to create that separation. His catching ability keeps his feet in bounds. Again, he has pretty good eye discipline, and he is able to do this. I know it's a little hard to see, but he goes up and gets a touchdown here against his corner. He's a physical receiver. Here you go. Gets tripped up, still has the ability to catch the ball. He's not he's a hands catcher. He's not going to be a chest catcher. Not going to let him hit in the chest. So when you're looking at his abilities as a receiver, I think they translate very well. But again, look at this. Getting against press coverage, I mean, guys, that is just textbook right there. I mean, not the greatest effort by the defender there, but that's just textbook. Again, here we go. He finds a soft spot in the zone. They're running cover 2 there, it looks like. He's able to hit there. A great quarterback throw there. But, Brown gives him that weapon. Over the middle, be able to catch the ball, get into the outside. So, again, when we're looking at what Brown can do in his game, it's very, very it's very transferable from NCAA to the NFL. And he's got that breakaway speed. He does, again, he's someone that I think is going to translate very well. His game translates very well. And with all these guys, it's draft capital. But if Brown can kind of find his role, I think he really can play slot and the outside. So he's versatile. To me, Brown is a versatile player. Where some of these other guys are kind of strapped into this is your role, this is your role. I think Brown will fit into that role. Now, my next guy is someone that I personally will not be drafting. Okay, but I had to acknowledge that he's going to be in that second round somewhere, and that's Kadarius Toney from Florida. Now, Toney is a late breakout, so again, not necessarily someone that I really want to put a high hope on and high draft capital on. He had 120 receptions, 1,500 yards, and 12 touchdowns. Rushing ability had 66 attempts for 580 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he does have some rushing ability, okay, that he has in there. Now, let's look at what Toney did in Florida. Obviously, he had a great year this year. You'll see him here. First play I show you was a run because that's tended to be what he kind of did. And again, what he kind of excels at. He has a strength. He's a pretty good receiver. I think the thing about him is he's more of an athlete. And the late breakout kind of worries me a little bit. I feel like fantasy people have a not a bias towards him, but I feel like we're less high on him than maybe the NFL is because maybe the NFL really translates that kind of speed and what he can do. I just worry about, like I said, that late breakout. What can he do at the NFL level? Can he really create separation and be a good route runner? I don't know. He's a very good athlete. I don't know if he's a very good route runner. He always looks kind of uneasy when he's catching the ball too for me when I'm watching film. Can he really make those catches in big situations? I get a little worried. If I had to pick any bust from this class, and I hate to use that because these kids are all good kids. These kids are athletes, way better athletes than I am. As a receiver, I just worry about him. I kind of worry about what he's going to be. Devin Duvernay comes to mind. I know that he had a little bit more college production, but, Toney definitely has his question marks. I don't feel comfortable drafting him. You might. So that might be it. Maybe you're at 209. You're like, hey, some of these guys are in here. I don't mind taking a shot on him. I still think that, he has that ability, the breakaway ability. He has the speed. NFL is going to covet that. Okay, so when we talk about speed and what he's able to do, NFL is going to love that about him. He's pretty strong. You'll see him here. He has that grit about him. So, again, everybody that watches me and we go over this, he has that grit. I like that grit and those other things. But if you notice this, he's catching a lot of balls when he's wide open. I think that has more to do with scheme than with him as a receiver. So take that for what it means. Okay, I think that he does he got put in this position last year where he had a pretty good offense around him. Trask was pretty good. He had Pitts on the inside and the outside, so took away some of that. They were able to scheme him pretty well. Will that translate over to the NFL? I'm not 100% bought in on that yet. Now, my next guy is a guy that I'm rooting for because of his injury that he had 2 years ago, Tylan Wallace. This is a kid. Wallace was a kid that maybe was going to win the first, second round of the NFL draft last year, hurt himself. He went back to school. In college, high production. 205 receptions, 3,400 yards, 26 touchdowns. This kid is going to be a steal in drafts if you can get him at the end of the second. And when you watch him, I think he has a great ability to get open. He does create separation pretty well. And especially when he doesn't get pressed. Now, when he does get pressed, it's not terrible. Right here, he's getting pressed. You can see that he didn't necessarily create separation, but the quarterback's throw is not also that good. And he was able to kind of redirect, go up and 50-50 ball and grab that ball. So I think that he does need to work on his strength off the line. That's the number one thing for me. But if he can do that, he can play in the slot on the outside. He can make acrobatic catches. He is someone that out there that if the ball gets thrown in his area, I will bet money 50-50 that he's going to come down with it and tech it. And then look at this. He has the awareness to get his feet down. Slant routes, obviously, had that. He took hits. Again, if you notice him here, this is one of my favorite kind of catches from him because you can see it. Again, he stays on that sideline. Now, he might have that Mike Williams, he jumps too high thing that going on and getting hurt, but he is able to translate. Well, remember, he was coming off a torn ACL last year. So translated over, he has a devastating injury, comes back, does even better, looks pretty good out there in an offense that did not really translate very well to him last year, especially with Hubbard being out, or not out, but just kind of different. Okay, didn't really have that offensive line system there. I think Wallace is a good steal at the end of your drafts. And that's somebody that I would be targeting. Now, I needed to conclude another running back in this because there's going to be a couple running backs that get taken, probably 3 or 4 in the second round. But again, I'm a zero running back guy. I tend to be, and especially with this class, after Sermon, I get a little nervous. Even with Sermon, I'm a little nervous about where I'm going to draft that 4th or 5th running back or 6th running back. You know, I'm going to go on the Chuba Hubbard train here. Hubbard, you know, he had a great 2019. He should have came out. He came back, and then he didn't really do very well. There's a lot of talk about him not even going in the second round of rookie drafts, maybe the third round. I just think that there's some hope for him. You know, he had 585 attempts, 3,500 yards, 33 touchdowns. He had 53 receptions for 479 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's a good player. Now, is he the player that we thought he was going to be? I don't know. He's got to go to the zone scheme, and he's got to be able to fit into a good offensive system. But if he does that, I think that based on where he's going and his value that he's going at, he's going to be kind of a value in drafts. If he was going in the first round, then yeah, I'd be a little bit worried. I know some people that have him as high as running back 2 of this class. I don't have him there. You know, I think that there are some question marks that need to be addressed. What he can do. Can he break away speed? Does he have the vision? He can make people miss. He can do that. But does he have the vision? Does he have the breakaway speed that you would like to see at the next level? I always say that vision is my most important thing. If he can demonstrate that, make that one cut and go, that's great. Now, when you notice the thought of his big runs come from big holes, which is really not his fault. Look at there, not even touched. He's able to get in through the middle of the defense. Can he break away and do it? He's going to against Tulsa. Now, can he do that against the Cowboys? Can he do that? Well, that's a bad example because my Cowboys are terrible at run defense. But can he do these things against better squads in the NFL? I don't know. You know, you'll notice it here. He does have pretty good vision there. He's able to sidestep. He gets to the next level, and he's going to be gone. When you notice what he can do, his strengths, you really like that. Now, will he be able to do it at the next level? That's the question mark, right? Will he be able to hit that vision, hit those different things there? I don't know. But at the end of the second round, if you need a running back and he's sitting on the board, I don't mind that pick. I actually think that is a pretty good value pick, especially determining on what landing spot he gets to. Now, my last pick is a guy I had to put in there because he's my guy, and that's Brevin Jordan. Tight ends, again, Pitts went in the first round of this mock. After that, you know, who's it going to be? For me, it's my tight end too, and that's Brevin Jordan. In college, 105 receptions, 1,358 yards, and 13 touchdowns. So not eye-opening kind of numbers there. So when we're looking at that. But what he can do in the NFL, I think he fits the prototypical type of receiver, a tight end / hybrid. He's athletic as hell. He's going to score touchdowns in the red zone. He's maybe a little smaller than some people like. But, I mean, again, when you're watching him play football, he's going to be a red zone kind of monster. And, again, when you get him in space, he's going to be a monster too. So if a team can utilize him in a way that needs a tight end, and especially when we're thinking about tight ends at this next level, like look at that play. I laugh every time I see that play. It's dynamic, right? He can find the soft spots in the zone. He's versatile on the outside. He's an underrated blocker too. So the one thing about tight ends that I always talk about is can they translate and get on the field? His whole job is to get on the field. Can Brevin Jordan get on the field? Yes, in other aspects. He can block. He's actually a pretty underrated blocker. So teams are going to want to utilize his strengths, and then maybe he can go there. You know, I don't – the size withstanding, I think Jonnu Smith is a good comp, like a lighter Jonnu Smith. with a little bit more athleticism. Can he translate it? Everybody thinks Smith was going to be that top 5 tight end last year, and then we realized, oh, maybe we were a little heavy on that. Will Brevin be able to do that? Sure, he can with his athleticism and what he can bring to the table, his ability to catch, his ability to receive, his ability to block, his ability to get open. I think creating separation sometimes at that next level hurts him, but he can get off the line against kind of bigger linebackers that create some mismatches, against corners create mismatches. So there's a lot of good things to like about Brevin Jordan, and I think that if he goes to a team like the Cardinals, let's say he goes to a team like, hey, I don't know. There's a lot of teams out there that don't necessarily need tight ends, but if he goes to the Cardinals, that's one of my places for him. Imagine him with Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins on the outside, what they can do. All right, look at what Dan Arnold did. And as much as I love Dan Arnold, okay, because he got me much money for prop bets, he is no Brevin Jordan. Imagine them in that dynamic in that offense. That would be my key. So there's my second round for you guys. So when we're talking about what we're looking for in the second round, I think as of right now, prior to the NFL draft, these are the picks kind of generally what we're seeing. We're going to see Bateman and Smith and Moore and those guys kind of go in there early. Then you're going to have to just choose, okay, what running backs do I want? And for us, it was Gainwell, and then it was Elijah Moore went 205, and then you looked at Sermon went 206, Amon-Ra St. Brown went 207, Dyami Brown went 208, Kadarius Toney went 209, Tylan Wallace, Hubbard, and Jordan. So those are my second round. Please let me know how we think I did. Let me know if I'm crazy. Where am I wrong? If you like this, please hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it over here at Hammercast. We just started this, and we want to make sure that we're giving you content that you like. Hit us in that comments. I'm definitely will respond as quickly as I can. What do you think about these guys? Who am I a little higher on or lower on? So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Till next time, I can't wait for the NFL draft, and after that, we'll be doing another one.
Did you get all that? If not, make sure you head over to Hammercast.com, subscribe, and join the Hammer Nation. Until next time, keep grinding.